First of all, let's check. All of you should hear me. So just say there, yes, private message, whatever on the chat, that you can hear me. Okay, it seems we've got...
Wanneer ons is live ook op YouTube.
Baie dankie. We're also live today on YouTube. So people from YouTube, although I won't be able to see or hear you, welcome to you as well. I'm Mr. Engelbrecht, and I'll be doing subject of CAT today, and we're doing it for grade 12. And welcome here. And this morning we're going to make decisions. Now, you had a decision this morning to make: either get up out of bed, walk over to the computer, switch on, log into STEM lockdown, or don't do it. So I'm very glad all of you are here. I'm going to do decision making today, and let's dive into it. Right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at if statements. I'm not so much going to do the if statement because that is grade 11 work. I'm going to more do the nested if function today. But just to back up 1 minute, I'm first going to do and look at what did we do before with the if statement. Okay, so now you'll see there on the screen in front of you, you've got there the if statement. What is your criteria? What is true and what is false? So that in general, but that tells half of the story. Okay, so we've got there we call it the decision making, and we can have one of two answers in this case, always just one of two answers. So we've got a criteria here. Is the value that I'm checking less than 5? Yes, true. Then I can do FFO. Now, what does FFO stand for? I can either put a function, a formula, or I can put some form of output in double inverted commas. If it is false again, I can also do FFO. I can put in some formula, some function, some output. So based on a criteria, I can put in anything, and based on that answer, which is only going to be one of two answers, either true or just false, I'm going to do something else. Okay, so let's take a look at the criteria first of all. Okay, so in our criteria, we've got those operators. So the one is less, the other one is greater, then less than or equal, greater or equal, or not equal to. How do you remember them? Let's see, let's go quickly to the chat. How do you remember which one is which? Which one? The one that shows to the left, the one that shows to the right. How would you know which one is which? Just a quick question here. Let's see what the people say there in the chat. How would you remember it? If you remember it, or is it just burned into your brains? But I know for a fact, I sometimes get mixed up between the two. Any takers on this? Anyone? Anyone at this stage? You can even throw it. Yes, arrow. Yes, Kyle, Henry. Yes, the arrow points to the smaller side. Yes, that's actually a great idea to remember it. It points to the smaller side. Okay, which side is the smaller side then? If we look on a normal line, a numbers line, 0, I'm using my cursor if you don't mind. I'm using a normal numbers line starts on the left with 0 on the left and it progresses to the right. So which means if you're at a particular point, anything pointing to that side will always be less. Always pointing to the other side, which is the greater, will be the larger number. Wow, that's actually a neat idea of remembering. Thank you there, Kyle. Another way of remembering it as well is I look at this little, let's take the less. And I usually always use the word smaller than. And what I can do, I can make that an S. So that's the top part of an S, smaller than. If you want to remember it like that. The other way for this one is not only greater than, but bigger than. So that's also one. And then if you put a line in front of that there, you would make it a B. So that's a way I always remember that as well. So there's two ways we can remember which one is which. So you shouldn't get confused about using less than. All that you need to do, you just really need to read the question carefully and say, what should be smaller than what? And in your mind, visually place something on the left side, place something on the right side. Okay, so this is the criteria that we're going to using. Okay, if it is true, then we can do either calculations, or we do functions, or we do formulas, or we can even display a message. So in the true part here, we can even put in something else. So that's in short just the true part of the statement. The false part of the statement is exactly the same. We can do calculations, we can do functions, formulas, or we can put another if statement to put in the message. Right, okay, so let's do the following. Let's start off with the nested if statement, and let's do something easy. I'm going to show you now how we analyze it. Right, so here, I've got here, assign the following. So if the person gets 10, we have to have the good. If there's 5 through to 9, we write the word average. And then from 0 to 4, we write the word bad. I'm going to show you on the right side of your screen, you'll find a little program there. Let's just go to the actual program itself so that I can show you. Let me just get it for you on the board here. Right, there we go. Okay, so this is the way decision making works with the nested if statement. So I put in a value, in this case, let's put in the value 5. So now I'm going to say, and follow what we are doing here. I'm asking the question, is the value for me greater or equal to 10? Our current value is 5. In this case, it's going to give us false. If it was true, then we would go and write the output, and then we would stop. Is everyone with me? So this is the first if statement. This is the first one here. There. So we're saying our value is 5. Is our value greater or equal to 10? Nope. So we go down to the next one. So now we're going to say here, is the value now greater or equal to 5? In this case, yes, the value is equal to 5. So we're going to write average. And then it's going to go down, and it's going to, again, stop that if statement. So as soon as that part of the if statement becomes true, then we stop it. Let's take another value. Let's take the value of 3. So we put in 3 there. So is our value greater or equal to 10? No, our value is 3. So we're going to go down to the next one. So now we start asking ourselves, is our value greater or equal to 5? Nope, our value is 3. So we're going to go down to the third one. And now it's asking, is the value greater or equal to 0? Yes. So we're going to write there whatever our output is. And from there, again, we're going to stop. Okay, so I used a specific way here to assign my values. Let's take a look at what I did here. Let's go there, like that. Okay, so it says they assign the following. So I said, I started here at the top, and I'm working my way down. It's very important here, because there's one of two ways we can deal with this type of question. Okay, number one, there need to be more than 2 answers. So in this case, there's 3 answers. So I started at the top with the biggest value, and I'm looking to see, is that biggest value going to the right side? Because remember what we said now in the previous slide. How do we know which one is which? And we said, if we're using greater than or going that way, going to our right side of the numbers line, we are using greater than or equal to. So we're looking at the left side of the table. Grade 12, are you all with me? Do you see how easy this becomes? we just need to know which one we are using. In this case, in the previous example, we said greater than or going or looking for the numbers to the right. So here we're looking, okay, yes, we're saying the value is greater or equal to 10, and there it's only 10, so that should actually be only value equals to 10, but let's leave that out for now. I put that in there to show you that we're looking towards the right. So we're starting on the numbers line at 10, and we're moving on. I'm going to see if I can open up my Paint. I wanted to work with my camera today, but my camera froze my computer, and this is kind of a last-minute edition, trying to do it in Paint. So just please be a bit patient with me. I'm going to try to get it going correctly. All right, so here's Paint. So here is my numbers line over there. Then I put in, let's say, for example, there's 10. The question asks, we need to look for values greater or equal to 10. So therefore, I'm going to go to, let's use this one. From 10, I'm going to go look there, because that's my first if statement. I'm only looking at there. Then my next if statement says, go from 5 through to 9. Because if I didn't find my value there, I now need to go and look at the second one. So now I'm going again there, and I'm looking at the left side of this. So I'm saying here, right, okay, I'm now looking for the number 5 through to 9. If I did not get the first part, let me just show you here, from 5 through to 9. The first part checked for values to the right of 10, including 10. So if you didn't find it, obviously the next step would go to look at our second one. If it is from 5, including 5 and bigger. So that's the second step. Then if you didn't find that, then we're going to put in the third step, which is from 0. So we start checking at 0 here. You won't be able to see that one there. Let's just put it a bit higher. Hopefully that will work. Yeah, there we go. Right, so we're looking from 0 through to 5. There we go. There's my 3 if statements. I'm looking, the whole time I'm looking to that side. Take a look here what we do. Sorry, wrong one. So it is greater than. There we go. And put in the arrow there. Greater and is pointing to which side? To your right side, the larger numbers. So that's one way of doing the nested if statement. Let's just quickly get back to this concept, because I really love this concept. We're looking for a value to our right on the numbers line. If it's true, we stop. Otherwise, we go on to the next one. If it becomes true, we stop. Otherwise, we go to the third one. If it becomes true, then we stop. It's kind of like a ladder going down, or like a waterfall going down. Somewhere along the line, you're going to catch some of the water, either at the top of the waterfall, middle of the waterfall, or bottom of the waterfall. The value cascades down as you are checking it. Does this make sense? Grade 12? Does this, the nested if, make sense to you? Yes, no, everyone? Yay, yeah, thank you. Someone's there looking at this. All right, okay. So now that you can see what the logic is behind the nested if, let's go and look at an example of the nested if. Right, I'm moving my Excel across. Let me just find my Excel. Apologies, I've got so many windows open here. There we go. Right. Oops, wrong Excel there. That's the wrong Excel. That's the right Excel, which I'll put just up now. There we go. Right. So that's the right Excel, and I've made it a bit bigger so that everyone can see today, so we don't have to use the magnifier. In this case, let's give the people an additional allowance. Here we've got a departmental allowance for, okay, this is going to be part of something else, but let's just take a look at giving people some additional allowance based on the department that they're from. So the department is clothing, tools, and furniture. I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to put it over there. Right, okay. So let's deal with this as a nested if. So if it's in tools, they get a 5%. If they're in clothing, they get a 3% allowance. If they're going to furniture, they get a 6% allowance. So let's do that using the nested if at this particular stage. Now, this one is not the same as numbers, but the principle still stays the same. In this case, if we go to our program here, we're going to again look at the value. Is the value tools? Yes, do something. No, we go on. Is the value furniture? Yes, we write what it is. If the value is not furniture, we go to clothing. Is the value clothes? So it works exactly the same. But instead of having the greater than or equal to, we're just going to have the equal to. Right, so let's take a look. So for the additional allowance, equal. If, round bracket. Now I'm going to put there the F for, so I want to check that. So if that is equal, and I'm now just going to put here clothing. So I'm using text at this stage. So what should happen if that is true? So if it's clothing, we should give them a 3% there. And I'm putting it F4 to make it absolute cell reference. What did I do? I pressed F4 on the keyboard. At the top of the keyboard, you'll see escape F1, F2, F3, F4. Those of you that's got laptops, you're going to have to press something like FN or something like that all over the place. But for a normal keyboard, you press F4. And what that means, it means take column M, fix it, don't move it. Remember, when we copy in Excel, it copies to the next one. So if we're going to copy, it's going to copy to M, to N, and then O, then P. But we're saying here, don't move that. Leave that alone as is. With the row as well, we said we want to have only that row. So we're fixing the column and we're fixing the row there. Right. So that's that part. Then, if we didn't find it, that's the whole if statement. If we didn't find it, now we're going to go to our second part. There's our second part. So that's our first if statement. If F4 equals clothing. There, that's that part. So what should happen if it's true? We should write there whatever is in cell M2. That's that part. Right, so we're done with that part. So now let's go to the false part. The false part now, we're going to start again with an if statement. Exactly the same if, and we're still testing the same value, but now if that is equal to tools. So what should happen there? We should write whatever is in there, but again F4. Right, because we're fixing that one there. So let's get back to our logical step. Right, so we've done that part now. If it is equal to tools, then we should put whatever is in N2. Right, so now that is the true part. Let's go to the false part. The false part you can see now, that's a third if statement. So comma again, if the same value is equal to now furniture. Like that, comma. So what should we put in there? That one, again, F4 to make it absolute, cell reference. So we've gone through all three nested if statements. We're saying, what's the first one? What's the true part to it? Then we're going to go to the second one. Let's test it again here. So we're saying, if F4 equals clothing, do this. False part of our if statement. There we go. That's the false part of the if statement. So now we're saying, if this is tools, do this. And now, last one, the false part of your second if statement is the true part of your third if statement. Okay, back to this one. We have 1, 2, 3 open brackets. So at the end, we have to have 1, 2, 3 close brackets. There we go. Okay, this one is formatted as rand and cent. Let's just change it to percentage for now. And now all that we need to do is to copy it down. There we go. I want to show you another trick here. Let's just quickly go to the slides. How many of you know about this thing? There's a question there. Do they give us multiple percentages? I'm going to come back to that. When we do the VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP tomorrow, and conditional formatting, Kyle, Henry, we're going to discuss that one. So don't worry about that. We're going to discuss that tomorrow. Make sure you tune in again tomorrow. Right. Okay. So let's take a look. How many of you know what this is? Grade 12? Here it says there evaluate formula and it is checked round. Who knows what that is? Let's see on the chats. Let's see on the chats. Who knows what that is all about? I know, not me. Thanks. Right. Some people know, some people don't know. Okay. Carlos, what is that all about? Tell us on the chat quickly. I'm just giving Carlos a quick minute to type for us what that is. Some people know, no clue. That's actually the secret in Excel, grade 12s. If you know the secret, you'll always get things right. Okay, I'm going to show you. Let's get back to our Excel here. You will find, let's just take one of these. Right. So I might get an answer, but I don't have a clue how this thing works or how this thing actually operates. The secret is Excel shows us how we operate. So you go to formulas, then you go over here, and grade 12, you can use this for formulas, functions. You can't use it for formatting though. Right, so you click on evaluate formula. There we go. Okay, in this case, I think I have to use the magnifier. Otherwise, you're not going to see the beauty around this little piece of equipment. Right, so as you can see, I've learned a few things from all of you, and especially Mr. Haynes. He told me to use the magnifier this way. Right, so thank you, Mr. Haynes. Shout out to Mr. Haynes from me. Okay, so I'm saying here, here's my F4. So it's now going to evaluate whatever's in F4. So I click evaluate. So now it says that it brings up the actual value in the cell. So does tools equal clothing? Don't think so. So let's evaluate that. So it gives us false. So then it's not going to do. Look where the cursor is. It's now at this one because it misses the true part. So now I'm going to evaluate again. Yeah, this is also to check to see if the formula is correct. So evaluate again. Okay, do you see what happened there? So it said they're non-applicable because there's nothing there. So now we go to the third if statement. So now we say if tools equals tools, right, that should be correct. So that gives us true. So now it should give us that part over there. So if we evaluate, it boils down to this particular part. It just goes actually back to the first if statement. The first if statement, the first part was false. And then the second part, and now we're back to this one. So if we click evaluate, it gives us that 5%. So this is a cool way of checking to see if, especially if you, because what this stuff is logical, it's logical thinking. And the way you can check to see if it's logical thinking is to go to, well, it kind of explains the formula that you're putting in, but it just shows you the steps it's using. So Excel is very powerful here. So you can check out to see where you made mistakes in this type of formula. Right. So that's a very cool way of checking your stuff. Okay, in the exam, you most likely won't have time for that, but this is very good if you're going to use it for your PAT, to get your PAT. And for those of you that are thinking about the PAT, I'm also thinking about the PAT, and we might think together about the PAT next week. Right. Okay, so let's continue with this particular one. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. Okay, so that's evaluating a formula. You can evaluate a formula. Right, so let's do the following. It says there the percentage increase in salary based on current earnings. So in this case, if you earn from 0 to 19,000, you get a 5% increase, and so it goes. So this is a number. Remember what I said? We work with the one that's pointing to the right. So if you go back here, let me just find it there. We're working with the one that's pointing to the right. So we need to kind of make sure that we start with the bottom one at this stage. Look very carefully. Grade 12, look very carefully. The way I did this in Untitled Paint. I started where? With the biggest number. Then I went down. Then I went down. Okay, there's two ways you can do this. This is the first way. The other way is doing it to that side. Okay, I'm not doing that one because overall, most of the teachers in class teach this method. So we start at the top and work our way down. We look at the larger number, then work our way down. That is very important here. So in this case, they give it to you the other way around. They give it to you from small to big. However, you need to start from big to small. Make sure about that. That is very, very, very important that you see the differences here, because it just might. There's another way of doing it. We can use it, the H lookup and the V lookup that we're going to do tomorrow. So don't worry about that. We're just doing a nested if. And in this case, this one has got 4 answers. So we're going to start there. So they want us to get the increase amount on the person's salary. So there's a person's salary. To your left, there's a person's salary. And we want the increase amount over here. So that just the increase amount. And remember what I said? We start at the bottom. In this case, the higher value, apologies. We start at the higher value and we go to the lower value. I see we are 26 minutes. I've still got so much to do. Let's get going a bit faster. Right. So I'm going to say equal if, and I'm going to go to my salary. There's my salary. Now that must be greater or equal to, and we said here, 79001. So that must be 79001. Now, what should happen if it's true? We should give them a 2% raise. So we should take the salary again and multiply it with their raise, which is 2%. And we want to fix that F4. Remember, that's important because we're going to get to that in conditional formatting. Oh, I'm looking so forward to that lesson. Please be here. Right. Okay. So that's the true part. So that's the first if statement. Now we do the second if statement. So if I'm going to put the D4 greater or equal to, now we do the second one. And we look at this criteria because we're looking to the right. We're looking at 34,001 or larger. We already looked for that one. So we're going to say if it's greater or equal to 34,001, what should happen there? We should take again D4 multiplied, which is the salary, times this one, but F4. So it refers back to that one the whole time. Okay, so that's the second one. Third one, if now we're looking at this one, we always look right because it's greater than or equal. So D4 greater than or equal to 19,001. So what should happen there? We should take back our salary, that's a calculation, multiply it with the percentage. Again, A4, because that one should stick. Last but not least, right, the last salary increase. Wow, people earning less get a lot of salary increases. So D4 greater than or equal to, in this case, 0, because that is, we're looking for 0 to the other side. So if that is true, we're going to take our D4 again, and we're going to multiply it with that percentage, F4. Okay, let's quickly count brackets. We've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 open brackets. So we should have 1, 2, 3 closing brackets. There we go. Too many arguments. Okay, let's see. What did we do here? Who can tell me? If, then, oh, yeah. What did we do? We missed out what? Come. There's a question. While I'm asking the question here, tell me what I did wrong there. I missed something. Sir, it's only the range that you need to make into absolute. Yes, thank you. You missed out an if. Yes, I missed out that if there. Right, some people are awake here. Cool. I love this class. I love this class. I hope we've got class for the rest of the year, to be honest with you, but I don't think that's going to happen, but we deal with it as we deal with it. All right, so we've got 4 open brackets, so we should have 4 closing brackets. Okay, so the question was...
We need 15 minutes.
Thank you. I've got 15 minutes left. Right, so let's go on. So there, it gives us, based on the salary, it gives us the increase, a differential increase based on their salary. Right. So 4 if statements, 1, 2, 3, 4 if statements, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 criteria. And this is a nested if. Right. Okay, 15 minutes. Let's quickly run through this exercise. There we go. Right. So we're back to this one. Okay, so nested if. Here's one way of working, 2 ways of working this. Working from top to bottom. Top to bottom, I mean, we're working from the larger amount and we work down to the small amounts. Again, working like a waterfall, cascading. Somewhere you're going to catch some of the water, somewhere you're going to catch some of those things. I think I missed a few slides. Let me just quickly see. Did I miss a few slides? Nope, I didn't miss, but we can work back to it. Right. The second way is to work from bottom to top. That I did not discuss because most likely you've got a Study Opportunities CAT textbook, and the Study Opportunities CAT textbook explains to you the first method. But the first method, we literally swap around. We start off with the smallest value and we work our way up. Right. Okay, so if the criteria is true, if the criteria is true or false, that's a nested if statement at this stage. Okay. Helpful links. I could only find this one. This is I don't know. This is the best one. I'm going to leave it here for a minute or two, so you can maybe take a screenshot, maybe copy and paste. Screenshot, you use snip, whatever. This is actually a very good video on nested if statements. Maybe a bit advanced for some people, but I hope it's going to help you. Okay, then for tomorrow, I see we've got 8 minutes left, so I'm going to go back to Excel just now. Please come. This is actually easy. This is really not difficult. VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP. I think the conditional formatting might be a bit more difficult, but this is really not very difficult. Okay, right. I want us to quickly take a look at this again. and then I'm going to go back to my Excel. This is the one way, and this is the way you most likely get taught in class. And this is the way you should think about nested if statements, that there's 3 criteria. And if you really want to, go on a piece of paper in the exam, in the pad or whatever, just scribble it out using this method. You saying, and always put the true on that side, always put the false on the left side. If it's false, go on. If it's true, finish. Okay, let's quickly run to Excel. Right, so that's one way of doing it. Those are nested if statements. Let's quickly elaborate on this one. So the additional allowance, if it's clothing, you can take the additional allowance and let's add to that, because sometimes they can even give you this. They can give you something that's kind of messed up at this stage. So let's mess up this one a bit. So you've got there, you take out that and take out that, and it's okay. So I've taken out a few things, and sometimes it will give you false. Now, if you see false, it means you did the if statement correctly, but there's something wrong somewhere. So I'm going to just take out the magnifier again, and we're going to go and evaluate the formula and see what's missing. You would know now that I've took out a few things, but let's take a look. If F4 equals clothing, which it's not, so that's false. So it's going to do that tools part over there. So it should say, evaluate if F4 equals tools, and that gives us false. So you can see that immediately it jumps from true because there's something missing there. It actually is trying, I'm not sure what it's trying to do at this particular stage. I think what it wants to do, it wants to do that one, if it's furniture, but it's not even getting there, because as you can see, for each one of those, there's something missing. Right, so let's go and put in the correct values there. So if F4 equals clothing, we now need to take the clothing, which is that one over there, F4, and let's multiply that with our salary to get the actual value. There we go, comma. So that one now is correct. So there should be something, and usually they ask this, but they can ask it in any other fashion as well. But usually they can ask you to complete something in an incorrect statement or whatever. So you need to check. First one, there's my criteria. What should happen if it's true? Then only will the second part start. Right, so now there's a second if statement, tools, comma. Oh, there's a third, so there's something missing. What should happen if the value is true? We should take D4 and multiply it with whatever our tools value is, F4. Press F4. Right, comma. Can you see here what does it say? Value if false. And that's what there is to that. That's a nested if statement. Okay, now that's the wrong way. So we just need to go and make it back to accounting or whatever, and then we copy it out. So that will give us additional allowance for that particular part. I am, oh, sorry, apologies. Let's just go back to the slides again. So tomorrow we're going to do VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP. I tend to forget the slides. So that's my details. If you've got any questions or whatever, please feel free to contact me on any of those at engelbrecht@hselspark.school.za. You can also follow at Africa Teen Geeks and hashtag lockdown eSchool. All right, so some of you want the link. I think that's a link of the PowerPoint you're referring to. So there is a link of the PowerPoint. We've got literally 3 minutes left. So I'm putting it up there for you to see. Any questions from you at this stage? Let's see, let's get this chat going a bit. Let's see, any questions? Thank you, Dion. Really appreciate it. I give a shout out here to some of my colleagues, which I can also see around here. Thanks for joining me today, colleagues. The link that I was referring to is this YouTube video, which is kind of a good video for getting it out there. Right. Thank you very much, Grade 12s, for being here. And I hope to see all of you tomorrow again, same place, same time. I'm going to be here until Friday. I'm going to be here next week as well. So don't go away.